If you're part of the Honest and Open Conversations community, thank you. And if you're not yet, now's the time to join us, because this movement only gets stronger with every voice that stands with it. Now, on to today's podcast. If someone tells you anxiety isn't real, they're not making a brave statement. They're admitting they don't understand basic human physiology. And I think a part of the problem starts with people not understanding the difference between stress and anxiety. From my understanding of the literature, in a general sense, stress is something that happens and then resolves. A deadline, a threat, confrontation, petrol prices. Anxiety is what the body does in response to stress. It's not a feeling first, it's a biological process. This is where people get confused. The same hormonal cascade that drives anxiety is the same process adrenaline junkies actively chase. Fast cars, skydiving, extreme sports. For people who don't deliberately put themselves in life-threatening situations, in other words, normal people, their exposure to adrenaline usually comes from things like roller coaster rides. That adrenaline rush people love, that is anxiety, biologically speaking. So when someone says anxiety doesn't exist, what they're really saying is that the adrenal system doesn't exist. That's beyond nonsense. The difference isn't the chemical. The difference is the resolution. An adrenaline rush feels good because the stressor, the perceived threat, ends. The ride stops, the car slows down, the parachute opens. Well, let's hope so. The body returns to a baseline. In anxiety disorders, it doesn't. It stays on. Major anxiety conditions, including trauma-based conditions, are essentially a prolonged, unresolved adrenaline state, with the fight or flight system stuck permanently on. In my case, my experience was being constantly on guard, scanning my surroundings for threats. That was there from my earliest memories. I learned very young that cowards attack soft targets. When you grow up learning that, you don't ever fully switch vigilance off. Hypervigilance and anxiety go hand in hand, and this is something that gets misinterpreted all the time. People who haven't lived it academically or practically often confuse hypervigilance with paranoia. I've had that happen in personal relationships. People have said my approach to security is paranoid. Yet police and security experts have told me my actions are reasonable. That's one of my major criticisms of psychology and psychiatry. Too often, critical decisions in those fields are influenced by personal belief systems rather than grounded real-world evidence. A lot of what's called science in these areas is built on survey data, and surveys alone cannot reliably distinguish between genuine belief and indoctrinated thinking. I'll give you an example, and I'll tie it back to anxiety. There's a widely circulated scenario. A woman is asked to choose between encountering a man or a bear in the woods. You've probably seen it. Now, generally speaking, if you look at crime statistics in the United States, which is where this originated, the actual recorded offending data, the proportion of men committing serious violent offences against women within a given year is a very small percentage of the total male population, less than 1%. Yet you'll see people confidently claim numbers like 25, 50, 70%. Here is a clip of exactly what I'm talking about.
Would you rather come across a random man or a random bear in the woods, starting with you? Go ahead.
What type of bear? Oh, that's a good question. That's a good question. Yeah.
Let's say, okay, so in the same way that it's a random man, it's a random bear that you would find in
Like,
North
are these-
America.
A grizzly, a black bear.
It could be a black bear, could be a brown bear, grizzly bear.
Regular
Adult
size
okay,
and an adult man and an
adult bear.
bear.
Yes.
Fuck. I'd probably choose the bear. I'm not gonna lie. I'd choose the bear.
What about you?
I would say, based off my life experience, yeah, I would say probably bear.
What about you? Which do you pick?
Definitely a man. I would be so scared if I saw a bear.
Man.
Yeah,
Man.
definitely a man. A bear is like a death sentence. I don't know what you guys are thinking.
Yeah, a man. A man.
Mm-hmm.
A bear. A man.
Rachel.
Man.
Right, so it was bear. I think you said man, right?
Man.
Man. So bear, bear, bear. Rather come across a random man or a random bear in the woods? Starting with you. Go ahead.
What's probably a bear, honestly.
What about you?
I'll take a man. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a complete stranger.
Yeah, random man, random bear.
A bear.
Speaking as a woman that has been physically hurt by a man, I will always pick the bear.
Okay.
Man.
Bear. I'll take the bear. Man.
Because you could just run away from a bear. I mean, they're not really gonna they're so big and chunky. Just run.
You do realize
Can you?
bears are faster. Bears are. What was your justification for picking the bear?
I know that a random man seeing somebody, not just me, any woman, like the worst thing a bear could do to me is kill me. The man could do 1,000 things to me before he kills me.
What's the chance that he would attempt to violate you in some way? Either he would assault you, try to kill you, whatever. What do you think?
Yeah, very slim.
Okay.
Well, hold on. Let's go around the table. Go ahead. What percentage chance do you think, of a random man attacking you?
Me?
What's the percentage of men that you think would randomly attack you?
3, maybe.
3%? Okay, what about you?
Yeah, 5. Yeah, below 10.
Can't really trust anybody, but I would hope 5% or below.
I'm not participating in this conversation because I have been hurt by multiple men. So I don't even want to think about the statistic personally.
Okay, what about you?
Maybe 3%.
6. I have to go 50-50.
50-50, okay.
Under 5%.
Yeah, probably under 5. I'll agree with that.
Okay. Would it be 50-50 for you, you think, too? Or
Not 50-50, but there's plenty of men in my life that I've met that have really surprised me with their words and actions towards me when they think no one is looking.
Okay. What percentage of men do you think would choose to attack you in this scenario? Because it's like random men, right? So
Probably 80% of men.
The original clip is thanks to Brian Atlas from the Whatever podcast. The link is in the comments. That gap doesn't come from evidence. It comes from perception, or more simply, a delusion. And when perception is driven by fear, ideology, or repetition, it starts to distort the threat system. And this is where the damage becomes real. When false statistical beliefs are repeated often enough, especially by people who claim authority or education, they don't just distort reality. Roll the clip.
ask everyone to rate themselves on a scale of 1 to 10. So let's do that. So, okay, we'll start with you. Go ahead.
10. A fat fucking 10.
On a scale of 1 to 10.
10. Answer
Were
stays
you
the same.
Were you a 10 last time?
Yeah, I was a 10 last time.
Billy Ray. We should have waited till Deborah was back, but
We'll come back to her. I feel like I'm a 6.7.
what do you rate yourself in terms of physical appearance on a scale of 1 to 10? Let's start with you. Go ahead.
Maybe 7.
7. Okay. Farah? Okay.
Honestly, I'd give myself like a 10.
Okay. So far as a 10. What about you?
Rating yourself?
A scale of 1 to 10, just physical looks, not like the total package.
Okay,
personality. 5. Okay.
I think everyone's beautiful. I personally don't do ratings. I don't do them.
You don't do ratings?
No.
Is everyone equally beautiful?
Yes, in my opinion.
Everyone's equally
In my opinion, yes.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
So there's nobody at this table that is, we're all just equivalent attractiveness?
Well, I think there's different like levels of attraction, but I think that if you look into it, everyone is beautiful in their own way.
Sure. Okay. We'll come back to that. What about you?
I'd say like a solid 7.
Solid 7. Okay.
I'm gonna agree with her. I feel like everything is kind of based off of like personal preference.
It's such a
Just
cop
for-
out. It's
No, but just for the sake of this, I will say 7.
It's not the
Bernadine.
first time I've ever rated myself. I'm old. I'm in my 30s. I don't know, 6. My
Okay.
husband thinks I'm a 12, so I'm good.
Tegan.
6.7, but when I get tan, I'll give myself a 7.
When you get tan, you give yourself a 7.
Right.
Okay. I guess we can rate ourselves. Orion.
I would think somewhere in the 8s.
Okay. I give myself a 6. 6.9 on a good day. Well, related to the rating thing, we have Stifler here. Ask everyone to rate their looks on a scale of 1 to 10. Let's start with you. Go ahead.
I'd say I'm a 6. Out of the shower.
Okay. What about you?
5.4.
Oh, okay. All right.
Say I'm like a 7, or I'd say like an 8. I'd say an 8 because I think I'm like naturally beautiful.
Yes.
And
Okay.
I think that goes
Sure.
pretty far. These
How old are you?
I'm 20.
I would say a solid 8
Okay.
in truth.
I'm going to go with 7. You're lucky number 7. I know what I'm working with.
4 or 5. 5.
Sure.
Nice for you.
John.
I give myself a 6.
Mary.
I think a 7.
Okay. I give myself a 6, 6.9 on a good day. Ask everyone to rate their own looks on a scale of 1 to 10. You can't pick 7. Starting with you, go ahead, rate your own looks.
If I could pick 7, I would pick 7. But since I can't pick 7, I'm going to say 8.
Okay.
Okay, yeah.
10?
Yeah, 10.
I would say like an 8.75.
8.75, okay.
12.
Well, that's off the
She
scale.
said she broke
but-
the scale. That's what she said.
So 10?
And a half, yeah.
10, okay.
9, 9.5.
Okay.
I think looks are in the eye of the beholder, but I would say, like, if I can't say 7, I'm going to say 6.
Oh,
Okay.
I think you're a 10.
Oh, thank you.
What about you?
8.
8?
6.
I give myself a 5. Jim Bob, what about you?
6.7.
6.7. Ask everyone to rate their looks on a scale of 1 to 10, starting with you. Go ahead.
In my own eyes,
Looks.
own eyes, like 8. In the eyes of those that I love and matter, 10. And in the eyes of the general public, socially, I think 6.
But okay, what about you?
I'd probably say that I'm like a 6. I
Okay.
think my partner would probably put me higher.
Sure. What about you?
I'm a 6, but with personality, way higher.
Love that.
What?
Oh, I want to say 7.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah.
Probably like 7, 8.
I'd say a 7.
So, okay. So you're a 10 in Leonard.
I'm a 10 where I'm from, but like the overall average was like 7.5, but I definitely think I'm like a 5.
What about you?
Oh, I guess I would say maybe an 8.
Okay. Okay. I give myself a 5. Andrew, what about you?
4.
4. All right.
Remember the question. Physically rate yourself 1 to 10, 10 being the best of the best supermodels. The inability to answer a simple question is a serious issue and another example. I've come across this personally when I was still in licensed venues. Young people who couldn't comprehend things like not being on their phones while customers waited. Simple varieties of wines. For a lot, the only difference is red or white. And the worse, the role that deodorant plays in customer service roles. If they did, then they would argue that people appreciate their natural pheromones. And this is an example of how young minds have been reprogrammed. However, reprogramming threat perception is a big problem. If you convince people that danger is everywhere, that normal interaction is unsafe, that threat is constant, the body responds the same way whether the threat is real or perceived. Chronic fear produces chronic anxiety, and chronic anxiety produces physical illness, relationship breakdown, family instability, and social hostility. That instability then feeds back into the system, creating more conflict, more resentment, more dysfunction, and yes, more violence. This is why I am so strong in my criticisms of the educational system in this country. The education system is destroying young minds in their most susceptible and important developmental periods. When this state-sanctioned abuse finally breaks these children, we are going to have a lot of broken people who will be angry and highly volatile, the likes of which we have never seen in this country. It's already starting to happen. Roll the clip.
Invasion in Sydney's west with CCTV showing the moment 3 masked men tried to plough down the door and shoot the homeowner.
Under the cover of darkness, 3 masked men wearing tracksuits and carrying duffel bags jump over a fence and casually walk up the steps of a Greystanes home around 1:40 a.m. yesterday. The thugs try to rip open a screen door, but the front door was locked, so they head around the side looking for another way in, but quickly give up and double back. This time they start barging their way inside, hardly discreet, yelling as they kick in the wooden door one by one until the homeowner appears and puts up a fight from inside and by some miracle escapes being shot around point-blank range. Have a look.
Park Dad has been bashed with a metal pole after intruders stormed his home. He's told Ollie Haig he thought he was going to die and has taken aim at the Premier over Victoria's spiralling crime crisis.
Armed with garden tools, 3 thugs try force their way into this Deer Park home. Kicking down the door, owner Simon leapt into action.
I was just wearing the kicks from the wooden door.
The force eventually becoming too much as the intruders barged their way in.
It was just instant brawling. I didn't know what they wanted. I didn't recognise any of their voices.
Simon was bashed with a metal pole, leaving him with bruising and a broken nose. His 18-year-old son Mark also injured, while wife Emma had a crowbar held under her throat when she attempted to grab the weapon.
Well, masked intruders have terrorised a Western Sydney family overnight, storming their Ingleburn home and assaulting a father and son. CCTV captures the attackers fleeing into the dark. The shaken family says they have no idea why they were targeted.
Sprinting away after a late-night home invasion. Masked intruders disappear into the dark after giving the Richardson family the fright of their life.
Shots have been fired during a terrifying home invasion in Adelaide's northern suburbs. A family was threatened with guns and a machete when the disguised gang stormed in.
Police raced to the scene of a violent home invasion in Adelaide's north. 5 men armed with guns and a machete smashed their way inside the Manapara home, threatening a man, his partner and teenage son. At least 2 shots were fired during the attack. Windows were smashed, with the family left shaken but not seriously hurt.
A couple accused of killing a home invader with a samurai sword near Glebe in 2018 maintain they acted in self-defence.
It's where Alan Kerr has called home for 3 decades, but last night his front door is where a home invasion came to a deadly end for a violent intruder.
And that male was wearing a face covering and was suffering from a stab wound to the chest. Police attempted to revive that person, however he died at the scene.
That man is Trey Laurie. Police say the 29-year-old had arrived with an accomplice to the 66-year-old's home. The pair, armed with an axe, stormed in,
where they've confronted the occupant and struck him multiple times with an axe,
leaving Alan with a partially severed arm. Still, the 66-year-old grandfather fought back.
We have been informed that the occupant, in self-defence, in attempting to defend himself, has armed himself with a knife and struck the deceased to the chest, and those actions caused fatal injuries.
Laurie's accomplice fled as detectives also investigate Alan's actions and whether he used reasonable force to defend his home.
And in particular, the conduct of the occupant, and if he's...
Sydney mother kidnapped in front of her terrified children, then murdered, is tonight demanding justice.
Kim Tran was dragged from her Bankstown home at gunpoint. Her young son was seriously assaulted in a crime so brutal even seasoned police remain shocked.
Robbed of their mother in the most vicious and unjust way. Kim Tran was kidnapped from her Bankstown home on Thursday night while her 8-year-old son was beaten unconscious with a baseball bat. Her other son, just 15, was there too. The 45-year-old's husband was away for work. Her body was found in a burnt-out car in Beverly Hills. The unspoken gang rule of leaving women and children alone broken.
Good evening. The teenager who murdered Northlake's mum, Emma Lovell, is taking his own legal action tonight, trying to get out of prison earlier. The shock move in court, leaving Emma's husband Lee dumbstruck and questioning the legal system.
He lost his wife Emma in a violent home invasion on Boxing Day 2022 at the hands of a teenager wielding a knife.
She's still my wife. You want to support her and get the best outcome that I possibly can for her.
He's relived the trauma of that night again and again as her killer went through the courts. And today, another blow. The teen's lawyers launching a Supreme Court appeal to reduce his time in jail.
It feels quite unfair that the offender is allowed to appeal the sentence.
The then 17-year-old was sentenced to 14 years behind bars last year after pleading guilty to Emma's murder. He's due to be released in 2032.
The teen was originally given that sentence because the judge declared his offending to be particularly heinous. His lawyers disagree, saying that factors of the crime do not meet the higher threshold and should only be considered as heinous, which, if successful, could lead to the lighter sentence.
Co-accused who was found guilty of burglary and assault but acquitted of murder and walked free from court.
I just think it's pretty disgraceful.
Good evening. A 44-year-old mother has been killed inside her Epping home, allegedly at the hands of a male relative who arrived ready for violence.
A massive manhunt is underway to find 3 men posing as police who robbed an elderly couple during a violent home invasion in Perth's north. Detectives say the husband was tied up and his wife assaulted during the terrifying attack.
Beaten so viciously, the true extent of this 73-year-old's gruesome injuries can't be shown. The grandmother bashed and robbed by 3 men impersonating police. Her husband tricked into letting them inside their Girraween home.
The information I've got at this stage was that it was a badge. The public should feel outraged at this incident.
The clip was originally sourced from news headlines in Australia and news broadcasters. The honest truth of the situation is this. The leading experts in psychology, psychiatry, and neuroscience have no clear understanding of what the combination of natural hormones, natural-based chemicals, and psychotropic medication does to a child's developing brain. The one thing that is clear is that it does have an effect. It is well understood pharmacology that some medications cause new symptoms. Antipsychotics, for example, can be used in the treatment of children for behavioural issues. Yet long-term use can cause tics, tremors, and conditions like Tourette's, which then require another cocktail of drugs to treat properly. As I understand the research, there is evolving evidence that suggests modern antidepressants, SSRIs and SNRIs, may be a factor in some teen violence cases, including school shootings in the USA. That's how bad ideas make people sick. And that's why I take serious issues with the idea that anxiety is something you simply choose to ignore. That framing assumes voluntary control. And that false assumption is exactly what leads to ignorant claims that psychological illness is a character flaw. Some behaviours are choices. Illness is not. Saying anxiety is a moral or character weakness shows a fundamental misunderstanding of how the human body actually works. This distinction matters for one reason. When anxiety goes untreated, the body pays the price. When adrenaline never switches off, anxiety stops being abstract very quickly. It becomes physical. For me, it affected almost every system in my body. A constant churning in the stomach, lightheadedness, pins and needles, restlessness, an inability to sit still or relax, headaches, back pain, muscle tension. My breathing was fast and shallow. My heart would thump, and not just in my chest, but in my head and wrists. All race irregularly. I'd sweat, get hot flushes, feel nauseous, vomit, and suffer constant sleep problems. It affected everything. Work, relationships, even basic leisure. Relaxation wasn't available to me. Even now, it's extremely difficult. I was asked recently why I don't go on holidays. Here's the honest answer. Holidays are meant to be relaxing, and outside of very controlled conditions, I can't relax. If I use alcohol, relaxation can occur temporarily. Let me give you a real example. I went to a cultural event where drinking alcohol was acceptable. A weekend away from my support system. I had 2 mates with me, and to cope with the anxiety, I had to stay drunk the entire time. And even then, on the final night, despite being heavily intoxicated, I had one of the worst panic attacks of my life. I was awake most of the night, feeling like I was on the verge of death. That's the reality of self-medication. It doesn't fix the problem, it just delays it. And that's where addiction starts. Now, there's another layer to this that almost nobody talks about. Adrenaline itself can become addictive. Working in high-pressure environments, frontline, hotel work, security, I became used to operating in that state. Constant pressure, constant alertness, constant spikes of adrenaline. And over time, that becomes your baseline. If you don't get that stimulation, something feels wrong. Flat, restless, agitated. I've spoken to first responders who describe the exact same thing. And what happens next is predictable. People start chasing that feeling. People start chasing that feeling again. For some, it's driving faster. For others, it's risk-taking. Drugs, gambling, high-stakes environments, even sex. Because the nervous system is trying to regulate itself. But here's the problem. You can't quit adrenaline. If someone has a gambling addiction, they can stop gambling. If someone has a drug addiction, they can stop using. But adrenaline is a natural human system. You cannot remove it. You can't stop taking it. So the question becomes, how do you treat dependence on a system the body is designed to produce? And that's a question the current system does not answer well. Now, I want to talk about medication, honestly, because this is where people either lie or stay silent. There are many good GPs. They're overworked, under pressure, trying to help people. There is a serious conversation we are not having about benzodiazepines and other drugs. Drugs like Valium, Xanax, Ativan. These drugs are not benign. They were never designed for long-term use. Every guideline states that, and yet people are placed on them for months, sometimes years, without proper follow-up or tapering plans. Coming off these drugs is not just uncomfortable, it can be excruciating. Withdrawal can produce a state of sustained neurological terror. Not stress, not worry, terror. Violent panic attacks, total insomnia, perceptual distortion, burning sensations, tremors, a constant sense that death is imminent. In severe cases, seizures, psychosis, medical collapse. That's not an opinion, that's documented. And yet people are still prescribed these medications without being properly informed of the risk and without a specialist. That is a failure of informed consent. I experienced this myself. After coming off prescription opioids, which was hell, I made it very clear I did not want any depressants. My GP prescribed me NDEP, telling me it was for sleep and pain. What I later found out was that it is also an antidepressant. That matters, because patients have a right to know what they are being given. And in my case, I'm not convinced the NDEP provided meaningful benefit. It had negatives, but the positives, most of my perceived benefits, I think were more attributable to the placebo effect. But that remains unclear. That's not an anti-medication statement. That's an honest statement. Now, what actually helped? After my breakdown in 2018, the first time I experienced genuine peace, not happiness, but peace, was when I heard Dr. Jordan B. Peterson's theme music live. I was in a foreign city by myself, anxious and overwhelmed. I didn't think I was going to last, but something shifted. The anxiety didn't disappear, but I could think. I could be present, and being in a room with thousands of people focused on meaning mattered. Community matters. Panic attacks become dangerous. Mine mimicked a full-scale heart attack. They lasted hours. At one point, they were triggered by swallowing water. That fear led to agoraphobia. Eventually, I couldn't leave my room. I'm largely in control now, but just like alcoholism, you don't become an ex-anxious person. You manage it. 4 things were critical for me. Exposure-based therapy. Identity shift away from victim. Breathing and personal responsibility. But there's something else. And this is the part that matters most to me. What kept me alive was God, and what I understand as the guidance of the Holy Spirit. I'm Catholic. I believe in Jesus Christ, and I'm not saying that lightly. When things were at their worst, when I was sitting in my car after what I genuinely believed was my final goodbye to my mum and my dog Poppy, something intervened. I didn't suddenly feel happy. I didn't feel fixed. What happened was an interruption, a break in the spiral. I remember the words of my auntie, who told me to listen to Dr. Jordan B. Peterson's lectures. That memory gave me one small action instead of one irreversible one. That's how it started. From there, prayer became part of my life. Not performance, not ritual for the sake of it, real prayer, gratitude, reflection, and direction. And over time, that grounded me. Now, I want to be clear here. When I talk about guidance, I'm not talking about hearing voices. I'm talking about insight, consciousness, memory, and direction. The same way human beings have understood moral and spiritual guidance for thousands of years. And in my case, faith didn't detach me from reality. It anchored me back into it. Now, alongside that, there were other things that helped. My team of professionals, so was Poppy. Poppy wasn't just a dog. She was a blessing. And there was a place I used to go to during the worst periods of my life. A body of water and walking trails, quiet. Me and Poppy would walk there, sit there, and just exist there. And that place helped a lot. This was part of how I worked through the agoraphobia. getting out, being in an open space, letting the nervous system settle. And it matters that I say this. We are lucky to live in a country like Australia because we have places like what I just described, places that don't cost money, places that don't require permission, places where you can just go, sit and breathe. Now, I'm not saying this replaces treatment. It doesn't. But breathing matters. Stillness matters because anxiety is physiological and breathing is one of the most direct ways to regulate the nervous system. Deep breaths, slow breaths, in and out. It sounds simple. It isn't, but it works. I also want to say this clearly. I'm not here to preach to people. Religion is deeply personal. I have faith in God. I believe in Jesus Christ. That is real to me. But I understand there are people listening who don't believe, and that's fine. Because even if you strip the faith component away, the principles still apply. Breathing, stillness, reflection, time away from the noise. Call it prayer, call it meditation, call it mindfulness. The label doesn't matter. What matters is that you give your nervous system a chance to come down. Because if you don't, it stays in that heightened state. And that's where things start to break. So no, this isn't about choosing one thing. It's not faith or therapy or breathing or environment. It's all of it, and it's hard work. But for me, the anchor was God. And everything else sat underneath that. The system in this country is broken and in desperate need of fixing. According to New South Wales Bureau of Crime Statistics and Research data, thousands of criminal matters have been dismissed on mental health grounds in recent years. Illness and behaviour are not the same thing. Excusing behaviour is not compassion. It's cowardice and it's wrong. Psychology and psychiatry have been influenced by ideology, vested interests, and pharmaceutical incentives. Medication is often prioritised because it is fast if it works. But real treatment takes time, effort, accountability, and commitment. Common sense has been replaced by compliance. Anxiety is not weakness. Suffering is not moral failure. But pretending the system works is a lie. I didn't survive because the system worked. I survived despite it. If you take anything from this, please speak to a competent GP and psychologist. Ask questions. Understand what you've been prescribed. Do not self-medicate. Do not stop serious medications abruptly. And act early. Best piece of advice is act early because anxiety does not stay still, it grows. And the earlier you deal with it, the better your chances. And that's the point of this conversation and the Honest and Open Conversations podcast. Not to attack people, not to pretend I have every answer because I don't, but to tell the truth about something that too many people either misunderstand or refuse to talk about properly. Because anxiety is real. It's physical, it's destructive when ignored, and it's life-changing when understood. If even one person listens to this, recognises what I've described, and takes action earlier than I did, then this conversation has done its job. No one should have to go through this blind. And no one should be told that what they're experiencing is weakness. It isn't. This is Honest and Open Conversations. Unfiltered, unrestricted, unapologetic. The fight for truth isn't over. It's just getting started. I want to thank every single one of you, our listeners, our followers, and especially our members. Your support is the reason this show exists. This platform was built for people like you, people who still believe in truth, courage, and in having the hard conversations that matter.